Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a critical debate about African swine fever, or ASF.
That's right. We're looking specifically at this policy choice, this practice of feeding food waste swill to pigs.
And we want to apply some critical thinking to the political arguments around it.
Exactly. Thinking about places like Taiwan, they had ASF recurrences after 2018, leading to temporary bans on swill feeding.
Right, and we've seen news reports, even recently in 2025, showing there are still really conflicting views on this.
Definitely. It sets the scene perfectly.
Okay, so let's unpack the core issue here.
Yeah.
There's this counter-argument famously made by figures like former Premier Lai Ching-te.
Yeah, the argument that a total ban forcing farmers to stop swill feeding.
Would just mean all that food waste, the swill, ends up flowing everywhere. That's the quote, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the implication is that this uncontrolled waste might actually make a virus spread more likely.
So that's what we need to test. Is it about where the waste goes or what the waste actually is?
Well, it's interesting because globally, the guidance seems pretty clear. The FAO, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, their toolkit for ASF explicitly recommends stop swill feed. Just stop it.
Okay, stop swill feed. But you mentioned it's not universal.
No, not really. Only a few places like the EU, UK, Australia, New Zealand have total bans. It suggests it's a strong recommendation, sure, but maybe not practical everywhere, or maybe politically difficult.
So if the guidance is that strong, even if not fully adopted, it must mean the swill itself is a really significant risk. Why is that? What makes this ASF virus so tough?
Well, we're talking about one of the most resistant animal viruses known. It's incredibly hardy.
How hardy?
It survives for months. Months in fresh meat, frozen meat, even smoked or cured meat products.
Wow.
And not just in meat, it can last weeks, even months out in the environment. Think soil, feces.
Goodness. That kind of resilience is, well, it's quite alarming, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And it fundamentally shapes the policy discussion. Because if you have infected meat scraps in that food waste, it's just, standard cooking, maybe improper cooking, it doesn't cut it. It's basically useless against this virus.
But what does kill it?
You need serious heat treatment.
Yes.
Really thorough, like 70 degrees Celsius for a full 30 minutes, or boiling 100 degrees for 10 minutes.
Okay, sustained high heat.
Exactly. If your leftover food, your swill, doesn't get that kind of treatment, it remains a highly infectious risk.
Right. Now let's link that back to the real-world outbreaks. You mentioned data from China's big 2019 outbreak.
Yes. A key study from that period concluded swill feeding was behind about 34% of the outbreaks they studied.
Okay, 34%. That's significant. But I think you also mentioned contaminated vehicles and workers were higher, like 46%.
That's right. Numerically higher in that specific study. 46% linked to contaminated vehicles, people moving between farms, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And 19% from moving live pigs.
So if vehicles are the biggest number, why does it often seem to emphasize swill feeding as the, quote, foremost danger factor? That seems like a contradiction.
It does seem like it at first glance, but it requires, well, that critical thinking we talked about. When you look at systematic reviews, like one from 2022 looking across many Chinese studies, swill feeding consistently comes up as having the highest evidence, linking it as a risk factor. Alongside transporting live pigs and just generally poor biosecurity on farms.
Highest evidence. What does that mean exactly compared to the higher percentage for vehicles?
It means that while vehicles might spread it further, geographically maybe, the link between feeding contaminated swill and an outbreak starting on that farm is incredibly direct and well established. It's seen as the most predictable, perhaps most controllable way the virus jumps from human food waste right into the pig population.
Okay, so it's like the initial spark, the entry point that policy really tries to target first.
Precisely. You shut down that direct feeding route, you block a major pathway.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's bring it back to that political argument, the flowing everywhere concern. If we ban swill feeding, how does that stack up against the science we've just discussed?
Well, the science is pretty clear. The real danger lies in untreated swill, the virus itself. It doesn't really matter if that untreated infectious material is in a pig trough or
dumped in a landfill or transported as garbage.
Exactly. The political argument points to a real problem. Managing municipal waste is hard, no doubt. But it kind of distracts from the core scientific point.
Which is?
Which is that the highly resilient virus survives wherever that untreated waste goes. It can still spread environmentally from discarded garbage, from transport trucks leaking, from landfills.
So the key isn't just stopping the feeding, it's ensuring the waste is treated properly with that high temperature process.
That seems to be the critical factor. The focus has to be on neutralizing the virus in the waste itself through proper treatment, not just on arguing about where the untreated waste ends up.
Right. The evidence clearly tags swill feeding as a major risk, a key entry point. But banning it doesn't magically make the virus disappear if the waste isn't handled correctly afterwards.
No, it just potentially shifts the location of the infectious material within the waste stream.
Which leads us to a final thought, really, for you listening. If this virus is so tough that it survives even in untreated swill that's just thrown out as regular garbage, then what other public health policies do we need? Thinking beyond just banning the feeding itself, what needs to happen to prevent spread through, say, garbage trucks, waste collection, landfill management?
That really is the next layer of this whole challenge, isn't it? Managing the risk throughout the entire waste chain.
Something to think about.